Well, let's get right into the first issue for today, the Water Resources Bill. Now, this is the third time this bill is being introduced in the National Assembly. In 2018, during his first term in office, under the leadership of Senators Saraki and Dogara, President Buhari brought the bill and it was rejected. In 2020, shortly after being sworn in for his second term, President Buhari reintroduced the bill and again it was rejected and thrown out. And now this latest attempt, with barely 10 months to the end of his tenure, is seen as an indirect bid to alter the provisions of the Land Use Act that entrusts state land on, state land on governors. While joining us to discuss the merits or demerits of this bill, former Senior Special Assistant to the President on Niger Delta Affairs, Ita Enang, and spokesman of the Pan-Niger Delta Forum, PANDEF, Ken Robinson. Thank you both, gentlemen, for joining us on the Arise interview. Let me start with you, Senator Ita Enang. The question fundamentally is, why the rush, barely 8 months to the end of this, this administration, in spite of the fact that the bill had been presented 3 times in 5 years and rejected as many times? Why this push for the Water Resources Bill? Exactly how will it change our lives as Nigerians?
First, I will answer that there is no rush. When this bill was introduced, there were so many misinterpretations, misapprehensions, and wrong impression. And so there were the need. First, the bill was passed by the House of Representatives and then transmitted to the Senate. And then there were wrong understandings. And so the bill was stepped down for consultations with the governors, for consultations and more input from the National Water Council, which is made up of all the commissioners of water resources, in charge of water resources in all the states. And it was an stakeholders engagement. And it is after all this stakeholders engagement that this bill is now properly reintroduced now, having gotten all the buy-in. All the areas of disputes and disputations has been addressed, and it is now being reintroduced as something that all the parties have been engaged, including the Governors Forum, who had reservations, who did not know. Please let me also say that I was advisor on National Assembly matters to Mr. President when this bill was introduced. And in the Senate, the then minority leader had raised issues which went viral. And I had to engage him in his office and drew this attention to the existing Water Resources Bill. And I drew his attention to all the content of the bill and drew his attention that it is a matching, it is a pulling together of all the laws in the water resources sector, which had been, just as we have done in the, first we did it in the power sector. You now have the Power Sector Reform Bill 2005, which merged NEPA and then now create generating companies and distribution companies and rural electrification agency. That is what has happened in that sector. Now, we now had in the power sector, I mean the
communication sector.
Electricity.
Some have even said that. Let me help you here. I mean, some say it's similar to
the petroleum industry
the
bill.
PIA.
And now the same thing is going on in the aviation sector.
Right.
So all these laws are now being put together in one volume of laws. First, let me show that it is in the provision of the Constitution that, so nobody is introducing anything that is injuring anybody. If you look at item 64, I had to bring the hard copy of the Constitution.
Great.
I have the soft copy in this iPad. I have all the laws here, but I wanted people to be able to look at it. Now, you look at the exclusive legislative list. When you look at it, you see item 64. The exclusive legislative list entitles the National Assembly and the federal government to legislate on water from such sources as may be declared by the National Assembly to be sources affecting more than one state. And so it is a constitutional matter that it is a question affecting more than one state. Now, this is the bill here. Most people who are talking and speaking on this bill have not seen this bill. This bill is in the National Assembly Journal, and if you go online on the platforms of the National Assembly, you'll see the bill. When you see the bill, you'll know that, first, it is talking about the National Water Resources Institute Act, one of them. It is talking about the water bill. First, let me read the title of the bill.
Please do.
It says, an act to establish a regulatory framework for transboundary water resources in Nigeria, provide for the equitable and sustainable development, management, use, and conservation of Nigeria's interstate surface water and groundwater resources, and for related matters. That is the title of the bill, and this is the bill here.
Okay, now
when you look at the...
Yeah, I know you came very, very prepared, and I do appreciate that fact. But in the earlier bill had actually sought to transfer the transfer of water resources from the states to the federal government, which, I mean, of course, it was rejected on the basis of that, among so many other considerations. Are you saying that this second bill that's been represented, to the House is, very different from the first one? In what way exactly, in specific terms? Especially that fundamental aspect that
if I want to go into the fundamental aspect, we will take more than 3-4 hours.
Great.
Because we will have to go to clause by clause or section by section consideration of this bill. We will understand
what are the
this
key
more.
points is what I want to...
What is the most important thing in this bill is that for the public to understand that the government is not introducing a brand new legislation. It is simply putting together existing legislations in one document, so that when you are talking like you have to petroleum industry bill, the power sector and the aviation, you also have all the laws relating to the water sector in one volume of laws.
Okay, let
me just draw attention with respect, please.
Great.
Draw attention. Now, you have the National Water Resources Institute Act. This law was made on 2nd of March 1985. 2nd of March 1985. It is the law that is part of this bill in the
okay.
It is in this bill.
I do understand
now you
that,
have
let you permit me to bring
please.
in...
I apologize.
Let me bring in Ken Robinson. He's of the Niger Delta. I mean, one of those, of course, who, believe that they will be gravely affected if this law, is allowed to go through. Mr. Robinson, you've heard what Senator Ita Enang has just said here, that look, this is really nothing new. It's just, the warehousing of all the laws that have had to do with the water sector in Nigeria, bring them under one roof, so that we can minimize the challenges that actually lay ahead as far as water resources is concerned. What are your views about that, and why exactly are you against this water resources bill?
Thank you, Ngozi, and we sympathize with our brother, Ita. He's struggling to defend an obnoxious bill, and we understand what he's going through. As I speak here before me, I have the 2020 version of that bill, and I have the 2022 version of the bill before me. And primarily and basically, it's about the central control and management of water resources, including groundwater. And we are asking, why is the federal government insisting on taking over control of water resources? Whose interests are they projecting? Whose interests are they trying to satisfy? For us in the Niger Delta, we rejected that bill ab initio, and our position has not changed. The bill, as it read to us, is a bill for an act to establish a framework to regulate and manage, control water resources. Let us recall that in 1978, the Land Use Act was established, which took away the power, the control of our land resources from us, and put it in trust in the governors. The governors preside over our lands in trust for us. So if anybody is saying that they have discussed with governors and governors have accepted, That's a fantasy. Nobody has spoken with the communities in the Niger Delta, with the community leaders, with the community women, the community youths in our coastal states. And so, as we speak to you, the feedback we get from all communities in the Niger Delta is a big no to that bill. And we will resist it with everything within us.
Let me ask you, Ken Robinson, have you really perused this bill to educate yourself about the intricacies and what is involved and the benefits, according to the minister and all those who are speaking for this bill? They are saying like there's no better time to bring this bill on stream, because you know what, it will commercialize the use of water in Nigeria. That many people, including bottling companies, for example, I will not name names, use Nigerian water resources without paying for them, and they're making billions upon billions of dollars every year.
Yes, people will pay for water resources, but let us say this, they took over control of oil and gas resources. And over the years, our oil and gas resources have been misused, abused, and plundered. Our environment has been devastated, livelihoods have been destroyed, with little or nothing to show in terms of developmental initiatives in the communities and improvements in the lives of the people. Our concern, what will be the difference when our waterways and our water resources are also taken over by the federal government? They have not managed the oil resources properly. A few days ago, they unveiled what they call is the new NNPC, but that was basically an old wine in an old bottle. It was an unveiling of grass hypocrisy and a continuous marginalization of the interests of the Niger Delta people. So we will not allow anybody to, under any disguise, take over our water resources. Some uninformed persons in the corridors of power have said water flows from Kebbi to the Niger Delta. And we will ask, why has the water that is flowing from Kebbi to the Niger Delta not carried the gold from Zamfara to the Niger Delta? And so let the water flowing from the north cease to flow, and let us see the oceans in the Niger Delta and the seas and the waters and rivers in the waters of the Niger Delta will dry up. My sister Ngozi, let Nigeria be aware, let the National Assembly be aware that if they are careless and they go ahead to pass this bill, it will be a call to anarchy, because the people of the Niger Delta will resist it. And I'm conscious of the fact that I am on national television, but I'm speaking the mind of the people. As National Publicity Secretary of PANDEF, I don't have an opinion of my own.
Yes, Mr. Ken Robinson, I'll need to, cut in there. We would not use this platform to talk about the possibility of anarchy anywhere in Nigeria. So we're not, no punitive measures are taken against, this station. We will not lend this platform for that kind of discussion. But do stay with us. Let me bring it back to Senator Ita Enang. You heard what he said there. Look, once bitten, twice shy. He's saying we've had examples with the NNPC, all kinds of, agencies of government that have promised to improve and better the lives of Nigerians. At the end of the day, it's made no difference. If any difference at all, their lives have been worse than when they began. What do you say about that? And he says, according to Ken Robinson, there was really no, consultations with governors and stakeholders in the Niger Delta or any other part of the country for that matter.
I think he's, I take great reservation on the word is used that I'm struggling to defend. I am not in any matter struggling to. I'm a lawyer.
According to him, it's a hard sell.
I'm a lawyer of good standing, and of course, I am from Akwa Ibom State, and I'm from Itu in Akwa Ibom State, and so the Itu River and all that, the Cross River runs through my village. So I will not be a party to anything that gives government control against me. But there is the law. There are laws that are in existence. If I had time to make reference to those laws. It is simply the bringing up of all these laws into one instrument. He's talking about the control of water resources that is in the Niger Delta. We are concerned about that. Not concerned, but all we know is that the water that comes from into the Niger Delta First comes through the river Niger, from Mali through to Niger Republic, through to Niger Republic, and then runs into Nigeria, comes through Kebbi, Niger State, down to Kogi, and flows to Anambra State, the Onitsha, and then flows into the Delta State, and then gets into the tributaries. That's the water that covers much of, also into rivers and then Bayelsa State. Yeah. All these waters comes from there. And that is the water that flows into the Atlantic Ocean. So we want to make the point first that the Atlantic Ocean, but other than the effect of coming up, it does not flow upward to the north. It's this water that flows. The same thing with the River Benue and the other water that comes from the lower Cameroon mountains that gets into the Benue, and then it gets into some inland waters. There are all these laws are there and have been in existence. Please let me just take a bit, because I am convinced, very convinced, that persons who have spoken about this bill in opposition to it have not read the existing law and have not read the provisions of the bill.
Yeah, now, even if that were the case, the question is, and let me ask the question from the point of view of Ken Robinson and all those who live in the Niger Delta and coastal lines, what will be their fortune? What will be their fate, the fate of those who live, within the coastal lines?
The law had been in existence, and the way it had been operating had been to ensure that, one, you control flood, two, you control many things about water. If you just allow me to show that these things are in existence and it's being practiced, and all those agencies are in existence. All those agencies that are handling these matters are in existence. There is the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency, where my brother Ken is talking about control of water. This Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency was made in 2010. I was involved in making it under the government of President Jonathan. It was signed into law on the 27th of August, 2010. This is when this law was made and signed into law. And this is the law that he's talking about. And this is the law that is also brought into this bill, signed by President Jonathan. It is here in the 2000 edition of the laws. Now, I bring another one. I keep here so that they won't think I'm repeating one. Then there is the Water Resources Act, which also is in existence. It was made, the Water Resources Act, which is the whole of part 1 to 19
Senator,
of this bill.
It looks like there were clauses that were added surreptitiously into this new version of the Water Resources Law. And those were the aspects that, the governors and stakeholders, people in the Niger Delta and other parts of the country, have reservations about.
Yes.
Right. So are you saying that, if I get you correctly, what you're saying, look, there's no difference between what the laws have always been and this new law. But apparently there are differences. There are some things that were spirited into that law.
Yes, this is why you have public hearing.
Great.
This is why you have publication in the Gazette. This is why you have advocacy groups. This is why you have PANDEF, you have the Arewa, you have Southern and Middle Belt Forum, you have the Ohanes and Igbo. I read the statements they made, 2 days ago, which were published in some papers on Saturday and then on Sunday. Yes. I read them. Right. It is online. And that is what made me know that most of those who are making these statements are not aware of what has been done. First,
are you saying a governor, or Tom, for example, a governor of Benue State is not aware of the details of this new
With the greatest respect to my friend and brother, I have a good relationship with him, even when he since when he came for screening in the Senate, as a minister, and even as a governor, and even when he went into the other political family. I have great respect for him. Now, I'm sure, and I want to urge that my brother, His Excellency Otom, Governor, should please look at the bill again, number one. Number two, look at the provision, at the outcome of the meeting of the National Council on Water Resources, where his Commissioner for Water Resources is also part of. Third, look at the the conference and the consultations that were had with the Governors Forum on the provisions of the bill, and when they had it even with the stakeholders at the villa, they had consultations on this. If there is still any of them that it has reservations about, it is for us to use the legislators on the floor representing Benue or Kogi or Cross River or Niger or Akwa Ibom that have reservations on it, to raise the particular reservations, show how this National Water Resources Act of 23rd August 1993, 23rd August 1993, which is clauses 1 to about 19, is different from what has been put here.
Okay, let me bring in Ken Robinson.
They will do that. And of course, I've referred to the Nigerian Hydrological Water Agency.
Absolutely.
The oldest of them is the River Basin Development Authorities. The whole of this contains the provisions, this bill contains the provisions of River Basin Development Authorities, and which is in the laws of the Federation.
Distinguished Senator, because
this
is television and Nigerians cannot, don't have the benefit of seeing the documents that you're presenting for us. Ken Robinson, let me ask you, what exactly will it take to reassure people like yourself, Niger Delta, the Southwest, other parts of the country, that this is not really ill-intended by the federal government or any of those who are in support of this water resources bill?
It's unfortunate that distinguished senator undermines the age in which we exist. In today's world, I really don't need to be a lawyer to have an in-depth understanding of what's going on. As I speak to you, we have gone through that bill line by line, and I have highlighted the intro of the bill to say that it is to provide for the equitable and sustainable development, management, use, and conservation of Nigeria's interstate surface water and groundwater. The fact there is equitable and sustainable development and management of our water resources. That's the everything that is the bill is. Every other thing is a preamble. This is the crux of the matter. It is about the equitable and sustainable development and management and use of our water resources. And so who is insisting on this equitable and sustainable development and management of our water resources in an administration that has about 8 months to go? In a season and period that people are clamoring for devolution of powers, that there is too much concentration of power at the center, and people are calling for the federal government to devolve powers to the federating units. The federal government, through this bill, wants to conjure more powers to itself. So that's the issue. Every other thing that the distinguished senator has said is a cosmetic decoration to deceive people. We are aware of the intent and the purpose of this bill that has not been said and that has not been discussed, and which distinguished senator may not likely mention here, even if he's aware of it. We understand that he has to satisfy his employers, and that's an unfortunate issue. We are looking and waiting for the period when we will have people who will speak like David and say, I will rather be a gatekeeper in the house of the Lord than dwell in the tent of the wicked. And that's what we're saying. The Nigerian state has been unfair to the Niger Delta people and to sections of Nigerians, including the Middle Belt people.
I'll put you on hold. Every part of the country can actually make the same claim that the government over the years has been unfair to every part of the country. I'll put you, both of you, on hold, gentlemen. You're watching the Arise interview. Let's go for a short break. When we return, the conversation continues. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the Arise interview, where we speak to the newsmakers as well as ordinary people doing extraordinary things around the world and featuring the voices at the heart of the stories. I am Ngozi Alebu. While the conversation continues on the reintroduced Water Resources Bill with former Senior Special Assistant to the President on Niger Delta Affairs, Ita Enang, and spokesman of the Pan-Niger Delta Forum, PANDEF, Ken Robinson. Thank you both gentlemen for staying with us. Well, it does look like it is a battle between emotions and economic value. That's how an analyst put it recently. Senator Ita Enang, let me raise the issue that Ken Robinson said there, and we did point out that fact with the Minister for Water Resources himself, Sulaiman Adamu, when he was here on Arise News. We asked him the question of devolution of powers at a time when Nigerians are saying, look, power needs to, we need smaller governments at the center. Let power devolve, to the sub-national levels more and more, because there's too much power at the center. At a time like this, government is saying we need more powers to control something that is very vital to every Nigerian, water.
Okay.
Senator.
Thank you very much. I want to refer to the sections it's talking about in the bill, and that is section clause 1.1. And I'll link that up with the functions of the river basin authorities. Clause 2, subset 1, it says, the rights to the use, management and control of all surface water and groundwater affecting more than one state, pursuant to item 64 of the exclusive legislative list in part 1 of the second schedule to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and is set up in first schedule to this bill, is vested in the government of the Federation to be exercised in accordance with the provisions of this bill.
Mm-hmm. Yes, simplify that. What exactly does
it says that the right to control is vested in the government of the Federation. Now, the government of the Federation now came up in clause 75 to vest these powers to exercise it in the river basin authorities. The river basin authorities were established in, I'm sure everybody knows what river basin authorities are. The river basin authorities was established by, on the 7th of August. I think it is aged enough.
Right.
Sorry,
Another
old
I
will.
law.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes. River Basin
Right.
Development
So
Authorities.
the question I'm asking you is whether the government
is 1st October 1986.
Okay,
the River Basin
back.
Authorities were established in 1st October 1986 by this act.
Right.
It is in the 2010 edition of the Laws of the Federation. Now, in saying that the power shall be exercised by the federal government, it now comes to clause 74 and establishment, functions and powers of the River Basin Development Authorities. I read, there are hereby established River Basin Development Authorities to be known by the names specified in columns 1 of the 3rd schedule to this bill, which shall have power and exercise such functions as are specified in this bill. 1.
Right.
The objectives of the authorities shall be to harness, develop and manage available national surface and groundwater resources as described in section 2.1, as well as the 3rd schedule to this bill, with a view to improving agricultural and providing raw water for multi-purpose.
And that's according to the old?
No, this is the bill.
The new one?
This is the new bill. I'm reading from the bill.
Great.
Which is also here in this existing Act of 1986, which is here in the bill, which is what is sought to be passed. Now, it goes to the schedule of the bill and defines the river and particularizes the river basin authorities, which are in existence in this 1986 law. But I think there was something we did in 2013 in the Senate. Senator Ike Ekweremadu brought a bill to establish a basin authority for Enugu and one other state.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Let me just take...
No, I'll need to take this because, we have to... It has to be a two-way thing. Section 120 of Clause 13 of this new bill, the new Water Resources Bill, it says that Nigerians must obtain a driller's permit before sinking a borehole in their homes. Now, this is what affects every Nigerian. What you're saying is that if I'm building a property, of course I need water, and I want to dig a borehole, I need to go get a license in Abuja to dig a borehole in my property. That seems to be what this new law is saying. How do you defend that as a government?
I refer you to the Nigerian Hydrological Service Agency Establishment Act of 27th August 2010. It is here.
Right.
And it is in the 2010 edition of the laws. It was signed by President Jonathan, as he then was. So this is the provision of an existing law. If the people want it changed, it is in this bill also. It is simply a reproduction of the provisions here in this bill. If you have reservation about it, then when the bill is coming for public hearing, then you look at the section dealing with the Hydrological Services Agency, right, and then seek for it to change. It's not a new thing that is introduced by this administration. It's simply the bringing together of all these laws into one body.
Okay.
Please let me just have just a second,
okay,
to refer to the river basin authorities in the country. One, Lower Niger, which covers Kwara and part of Kogi. The Cross River Basin, which covers Akwa Ibom and Cross River. The Hadejia Jama River Basin, these are Kano, Jigawa, and parts of Yobe. Sokoto Rima Basin, which covers Sokoto, Rif, Samvara, and Kebi. Upper Benue, Upper Niger Delta, Anambra, Imo, Chad Basin, Lower Basin, and these are the basin authorities, which we have managing directors who are from those states. We have the managing directors, we have the legal advisors, we have chairman in that state. And the way it is done is, for instance, in Akwa Ibom State, under the Cross River Basin, if the managing director is from Cross River, then the chairman will be from Akwa Ibom. The chairman will be from Akwa Ibom. So at no time could there be
you're saying this law does not
be cheated, or the federal government coming from Abuja to manage the water resources there. It has devolved these powers under Section 2 to the river basin authorities, which are established and are manned by indigents of those states within the catchment and the territorial limit or jurisdiction of those river basin authorities. But sections, item 64 of the Constitution says it is the matter for the federal government. And the federal government says we have, under this, devolved that power to the river basin authorities to exercise it in our behalf. And the river basin authorities are situated in this state, a total of 12 of them.
Okay. Let me bring in Ken Robinson. Ken, I'm sure you've been listening.
And I take very serious exception to the words used by Ken.
Let me allow me, Senator.
I was part of the Niger Delta Development Commission.
Yeah.
I fought for the abolition of the onshore-offshore dichotomy. I fought with the help of Galina Abba. And when Masari was presiding as Speaker of the House of Representatives, we fought together and negotiated with other parts of the country for the abolition of the onshore-offshore dichotomy, which is giving money that the states of the Niger Delta are mismanaging by the governors today. He wouldn't use those words on me.
All right, that's appreciated. Thank you very much. You took it right out of my mouth, because I was going to, plead with Mr. Ken Robinson. Please do not in any way impugn the integrity of our guests. It would not be fair to do that. You make your case and allow him make his case in a civil manner. I wonder how comforting it's been listening to him saying, look, these laws have always been there on the issue of how it will affect people living in the coastal areas, on the issue of devolution of powers, which you raised. Of course, I did raise that point with him too. And he seems to be backing it up with the old laws that are only just being brought together under this one umbrella. How much of a comfort is it to you at all?
Nothing at all, nothing at all. For us, it is no. We can't have our water resources under the control of the Nigerian state, under any disguise. We cannot be deceived. Remember, the Whalings Commission in 1958 made recommendations concerning the environment and the living conditions of the Niger Delta people. And following that recommendations by that commission, the Niger Delta Development Board was established in 1961 or 62. And then we see a proliferation of the Niger Delta, Basin Development Boards, as the distinguished senator has mentioned in 1976 or 78 by then military head of state. So laws are being bastardized, abused, misused, and misapplied in Nigeria. Look at what is going on in the NNPC today. We have the managing director of NNPC from a certain part of the country. The chief financing officer is from the same part of the country. The corporate secretary of the board of company, now what they call it, is from the same side of the country. Out of 11 directors of that so-called limited company, 7 of them are from a particular section of the country. there are 6 geopolitical zones in the country. So if we take one from each of the zones, and then we say, okay, there are 2 major divides, north and south, we will have about 5, 6, but we have 7, 4. And those are the kind of things that we are saying, that people continue to think that they will have their way in this country. They will push through whatever they want to do because they have the numbers, and nothing stays forever. We have come to the point where we're saying no, and that this will not go through. And as I said earlier, if the National Assembly is careless and go ahead to pass this bill, of course, whatever comes out of it, Nigeria is to be blamed.
Ken, let me stay with you. Globally, even the United Nations does, recognize the fact. As a matter of fact, it has warned that the new frontiers of war could actually be water and not even oil or land. Don't you think there should be some level of regulation of Nigeria's water resources if we're to have this equitable distribution of water resources across the country? Don't you think there's a need for some level of regulation?
There's always, regulation is welcome, but proper regulation, proper consultation, and sincere purpose and intent. Look at what happened a few days ago during the unveiling of the new NNPC Limited. And I looked through. I didn't see any of the community leaders, any of the traditional rulers from the Niger Delta, where about 80 to 85 or 90% of the oil resources that this NNPC Limited operates from. And we saw those who were prominent at that unveiling. And that's the kind of deliberate, callous marginalization of the Niger Delta people. And we are saying, no, you can't come and take control of our water resources. It will be difficult for anybody in the Niger Delta. I challenge this Senator Ita Enang to go to his community to tell his people that the federal government should take control of the rivers and waters that he has mentioned. I challenge him. We have great respect for him. We know him. We have one-on-one interactions with him, and PANDEF respects all that he has done. And he knows that. I personally have great respect for him. But you see, the truth must be said that when things are not right, we should at times take the backstage and let others come and speak for them, not sending our people to come and defend obnoxious laws or legislations.
If in an ideal situation, let me still stay with you in 1 minute if you can. In an ideal situation, without the seeming trust deficit in Nigeria, if you look at the benefits of this water resources bill, would you say then maybe it really should be allowed to, go through? Is it the problem of timing for you? The problem of trust? Is that what it is?
What are the benefits, Ngozi? What are the benefits to the people of the Niger Delta? What are the benefits to the people of Kolama in southern Nigeria in Bayelsa State, where my mother comes from? What are the benefits of the people of Buguma, where I come from in Asarito local government of River State? What are the benefits to the people of the Niger Delta in Akwa Ibom State, in Cross River State, even in Benue State or in Lagos State? What will be the benefits besides the benefits for the federal government of Nigeria? They will continue to exploit every available opportunity to look for more resources for the federal government of Nigeria. That's the intent. And then pacify or please certain sections of the country. It is about grabbing land to satisfy some interest. They tried to have Ruga settlements, we resisted it. They tried other settlements, we resisted it. This is another form of Ruga. And that is our opinion, and that is our conclusion. And we are saying no to it.
Senator, distinguished Senator, he says this is, rural grazing area by another name. That point has been made over and over again by those who have concerns and who have fears about this water resources bill. And, there's something called doing a good thing in a bad way or wrong time. Is that what may just be wrong with this water resources bill?
I want to say first that I have great respect for PANDEF. But when there is deliberate misinformation intended to make our people take decisions that will seem to antagonize them against themselves, I owe a duty to please be with them. Now, I have been a great resource to the people of the Niger Delta. I know what I did in the course of the petroleum industry bill from 2006, 2007, and when we even did all the other measures and amendments. And I know the great reservations I had on the bill in the last, when I was in the Senate. And I knew the input I made towards having a good bill that is acceptable when as I served as advisor on on National Assembly matters. And I know the inputs I made on the objections I have and still have on the 30% that was given for the development of an agency. And I still made that open, even as an officer of the government, that it is going to make us not have revenue in the country and that is happening. Now, so I will not be blackmailed by this. I owe a duty to stand up and tell the truth. Even the United Nations, we have regulates water, even the oceans. You have the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. You have laws even that regulate water from passing through 2-3 more countries. That is why Niger and Mali cannot dam the water along the river Niger, because it is against the international law. Even when we had to build the dam, in Niger State, we had to have international agreement because it will affect the water. If the Kogi, Kebi, and all that were to dam and get the water that runs along River Niger and then transport that water into Sokoto into this and use in irrigation, we will not have so much water down in the River Niger. So let us not come into this question that is saying, I'm sorry, I'm not going to get onto the same level with you. But coming to most of the questions, I urge on the Ruga question, I took back beating as advisor on National Assembly when I defended that bill in Akwa Ibom and everywhere, when I defended the question. Now, that question went into the National Economic Council, and it was defended and very well articulated by the Vice President. And the Vice President set up a committee made up of governors, one from each geopolitical zone. They all came out and said it was a good idea. Now, it's an economic problem. This state, Katsina State, has just completed a 6 billion worth of rural agency. Whether you call it Ruga or something, we need animal husbandry and those facilities in all the states in the Niger Delta. If you don't have it, you need cow. This cow, it is we in the south that eat more cow that even present it at ceremonies. I don't see the northers doing it. I see more people from other parts of the eating chicken. It is we that adore cow. It is like a cola, which is produced in one area of the country and adored by another area. Let us take this question of grazing animal, as an economic matter.
Okay.
Cow is now costing 300 and something, whereas because it is the cost of transportation from the north down to the south, and even when they are rearing it in our area using our grass, they still sell it to us at very high rates. These people don't even eat. You need
so what you're saying with this now. So are you saying
and
with this water
is not only for cows, Senator? It is for goat, for all kinds of things, for sheep, for all kinds of things. Please, let's come to realization on things that are economically relevant. The economy is in trouble, and we have to debrief ahead from things that are primitive.
Ken Robinson, this is all about economics. That's what the distinguished senator is saying. And will this come to you? We had the speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, saying, look, based on what the sponsor of this bill, Salah Sadi, has told him, reassured him that, look, the right kind of, consultations have been carried out, including with governors, the stakeholders and leaders. What do you make of that? Is that... What are your thoughts concerning that? Does that give you any kind of reassurances that if the speaker says, look, I have been assured that all the vexed or vexatious sections of the bill have been taken care of, have been addressed, why are you not assuaged by that? Why are you not convinced?
The Right Honorable Speaker of the House of Representatives, the gentleman, and we will urge him to remain so. The entire bill is unnecessary, as we have said from the introduction of the bill itself, and so that bill should be confined to the dustbin of the National Assembly. Now, let me.
In spite of the economic benefits that could accrue if that bill comes on stream.
Let's say that the economic benefits will continue to be denied the people who own the resources. It will be wasted, it will be plundered by a few persons who are close to power, who are in the corridors of power, as we have wasted our oil resources in about 60 years or more. So, but let me address a word used by the distinguished senator saying the issues being discussed here are primitive. It's unfortunate, and perhaps the distinguished senator
very
needs to
honestly and earnestly and
pen
penitently apologize for it. It was a slip of tongue. Please, there are not. I apologize to everybody. I apologize to you. It was, please, I apologize for it. I apologize. I really apologize for it.
Thank you for that.
Please.
But let us apprise you. Of course, you know very well, perhaps even more than I do, that husbandry and cattle rearing is a private business. And if anybody from any part of Nigeria wants to set up a livestock farm or anywhere, we have our people who have mini livestock farms all over the place. If somebody wants to establish a mega livestock farm, you should come to our people and negotiate with our people and buy the land from our people and set up his place. It's a private business. It is not for the federal government of Nigeria to coerce our people and take our lands and give to their brothers and sisters. We will refuse it. We will continue to reject it. That's the position of the Niger Delta people.
No,
nothing will make us change that position.
Yeah, thank you. Please, the federal government
does
not do that, please. If you don't want it, they cannot be forced on you. When an area agrees, like
Distinguished Senator, let me ask you the same question, Ken. You know, re-echoing what a lot of people are asking, like back to the square one. What exactly, in whose interest is this water bill? In 1 minute, if you can.
Now, the water resources bill is to make us come into the standard practice in water resources management all over the country. I mean, all over the world, is to do what we call the international best practice. What you have is the international best practice is that in every sector of the economy, have the laws in one volume that can be seen. Like you have the Power Sector Reform Act, which includes every aspect of the law. You now have the Petroleum Industries Act, which brings all the laws relating to NNPC, all the other sectors into one body. Okay. You are now working on the water sector to comply with it, and there is another one that is coming on the aviation sector. So it is simply to comply with international best practice, so that when you are going, for instance, to work to look for any assistance international community or to be assessed in compliance, they can have the body of laws seen in one instrument.
All right, thank you very much.
And I apologize again if any word I used was that I apologize.
That's fine. Apology well taken. So Ken Robinson, you have the last word.
Well taken.
Thank you,
yes,
sir.
And finally, perhaps we need to say that, yes, international best practices, international standards. Let's begin with international best practices and standards in terms of security management, in terms of good governance, in terms of inclusiveness, in the politics of the country, in terms of how we manage our resources first. And then we can look at other issues. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's a very good place to leave it. Distinguished Senator Ita Enang, thank you so much for joining us on the Arise interview, and Ken Robinson of PANDEF. It's been a pleasure having both.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
And that's it for this edition of the Arise interview. Sorry we could not bring you the discussion with one of the relatives of the abducted train passengers on the protest held today. We'll ensure you we have that conversation soon. From me, Ngozi Alebu, and the entire team here in Abuja, goodbye and thanks for watching.